Yeah. Good morning, everybody, and warm welcome to Dr. Rahul also for today's talk. Before he takes over the mic, I would just like to introduce him a short introduction, and then we go back to his talk. Dr. Rahul Sapkal has worked, he's now working at IIT Mumbai, and he has previously worked as assistant professor at School of Management and Labor Studies at TISS. So he is TISS alumni. So welcome back to the same your own earlier house. He has also worked at a National Law University, Mumbai. He holds PhD degree in law economics from European doctorate program in law and economics from Erasmus University, Rotterdam. He worked broadly, like what the areas of his works are like public policy, applied electrometrics, impact evaluation and monitoring, economics of inequality, informal economy, law and economics, and the development studies. I think he is a master's degree from the development studies from the institute itself. He has been a recipient of Faculty Research Fellowship of 2018, Reserve Bank of India, Azim Premji Research Foundation Grant for academic year 2018-19 and 19-20, Impress ICSSR Major Research Grants of 19-20. He is visiting research fellow at Rotterdam Institute of Law and Economics, Erasmus University, Rotterdam, the Netherlands, and Berlin School of Economics of Law, Germany. At present, he is also heading 3 rounds of large-scale national surveys on informal and migrant workers, which is titled as Workers in the Time of COVID-19, which is in collaboration with Action Aid India. He is also an expert nominated member of drafting committee for Indian labor standards, leveraging of human capital of brick-linked workers under social responsibility sectional committee of Bureau of Indian Standards and Ministry of Labor and Employment, our government of India. As a part of this research, he has been working as a research consultant with CRY India, Praxis, ITF, Action Aid India, or FEM India, Fair Labor Organization, and ORO, which are the organizations in India. We are very happy to have you here, Dr. Rahul Sapkal, and we are awaiting for your talk. And today's talk, he's titled it as Engendering Future of Work, Gender, Caste, and Women Work in India. A warm welcome again, Dr. Rahul Sapkal, and I hand over mic to you.
Thank you, Sujata, and thank you, Sangeeta, for this opportunity. It's always good to come back to the institute. Unfortunately, we are not having in-person class. Otherwise, I would have really thrilled to see students. But it's a good. And this is, like a mandatory talk. I remember that. Okay, Meena Gopalan always used to tell me, okay, this Rahul labor ke upar ek to lecture lena hi hai. In women's studies, man, that is my mandatory talk, and that with due respect to her also, this is like occasion for me. So thank you very much for Sujata for very warm introductions. And I have made some changes also last night because I was thinking, okay, what I can give new to our women's studies scholars, understandings the women. So today I decided to play devil's role. So I'm gonna play you I'm gonna present some facts and figures from the gender point of view also, but also I'm twisted with the caste also. That is important thing for us. Okay, so I'm just gonna twist with the caste also, and then I will leave the floor open to all. So not only these students also, but some of my students will also join, especially PhD students. They are interested to know understanding those who are working in the women and work topics. So for them also it is like an open thing. So thank you very much for your warm welcome. And then the session is very I don't know many of the students, but whenever you feel that okay, you have not understood the concept, you simply raise your hand and you can ask the question. So it's not a problem for us. So welcome you all. So today's we're gonna discuss about engendering future of work. So why this is important? Because ILO's 202 convention, it's all about women and work. So that's the way they're actually approaching in 2024. And many governments are now lobbying it also, like how to make, like a gender free the kind of a work we are doing. So here I'm gonna twist, okay, gender and caste both, but you will see also a lot of figures, okay, a lot of figures you will see. And also I will help you out to understand, okay, from where we get this data, how we understand the data, and how as a like a master students or maybe scholars, okay, you can use the data. Just give me 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm going to twist with the gender and caste and women's work in India. So let's take it the look at the global scenario. So structure of the talk is very simple. Okay, so I'm going to give you the big picture, and then I'm going to propose some theoretical arguments, what is coming from the labor economics and the feminist study point of view also. And then we'll look into what is the labor market structures looks like. And then we will also go through a briefly data analytics, okay, how the data is actually looking, and then we will draw some broader conclusion. Okay, so let's understand, okay, like what are the things are there. Okay, sorry. So this is from ILO report. So as we can see, okay, according to the ILO 2017 report, yes, labor force participation is for male, it is 75%, but women are still very less. And if you look into the educations, okay, there are very few like women dominated jobs are there, especially in the social security or maybe social sectors. Okay, so work are very few for the women workers as compared to the male workers. That is also a global like a challenge. Okay, then how we can integrate, like your sustainable development agenda and also many other things. So that is also important things that we are having. Yes, we do have, like a what we can say that key gender segregation in the labor market, prefer to the male and female type of job. But we do also like a notice of it that there is a wage discrimination that is happening. So on an average on the global scales, women earn, like a 20% less wages than male. And that is also I have shown in my research also, where we have decomposed, okay, where the women are working into the James and leather industries, and there you can see also in the during my COVID survey also we have found out that even in the Narega also, there happens to earn lesser than, what the male are actually earning. So yes, most of the time what happened, like why we are not able to promote as a public policy scholar, I would say that, okay, we are not able to promote the good jobs for the female colleagues or maybe female worker is mostly because of these jobs are being created for the low productive and the low wage sectors, especially informal sector, or make it broadly you can call it. So formal sectors, which is covered by the labor laws, in that they are entitled to get, like all the government benefits and the entitlements. But in the informal sectors, they are not supposed to, like they are not getting anything because of the lack of enforcement and lack of labor law coverage. So most of the jobs that has been created, and that is the big policy questions for all of us, is that, okay, why the more jobs have been created into the informal or maybe unproductive or low productive sectors. So we call it, okay, the low productive, low wage jobs. So where the most of the jobs have been created, and that's why they did not receive that kind of a policy attention they're supposed to receive. So these kind of things are also there. So many people argue with me, no, there are many companies, opening up, like gender diversity and other things. It's fine, but most of the jobs, okay, where unskilled and maybe semi-skilled women workers are actually employed. So these are the jobs are basically into the low productive sector. That's the really worrisome, and that's why we really need to tweak about our national manufacturing policies, where we are actually not actually allowing the gender to have the full parity with them. As you can see, like many of my fieldwork also that we have seen, especially the retail and the garment industry, it's completely female dominated job. but these jobs are basically considered as, like a low productive jobs, and hence many of the voices or many of their representative get unnoticed in the whole duration of the poor. Yes, one of the reason that, okay, why we are actually promoting women to have, like to the low productive job, one is that, okay, most of the time goes into the house work or maybe household chores kind of a things, okay, and then they spend very less times into the marketed activity in terms of, okay, participating. For instance, like almost everyone here who are there, okay, somebody like coming as a housemaid helping hand for everyone's house, okay, but she works only 3 or 4 hours in a day. That is not been getting documented in the national statistical report also. And that's why, so you have a huge army of, like a huge army of, like a domestic maids and helpers coming and helping us with the household efforts, but still they are not actually, that is not been actually documented for. As a result of that, their contribution to the national economy gets unnoticed. So imagine that, okay, if tomorrow, if your house help or house assistant won't come tomorrow morning, what will happen to your house? Like it's completely, like you can imagine that, okay, they won't be able to, like participate, and then they won't be able to do anything. And then you also become handicapped, like, for instance, like that. Yeah. So, as a result of that, yes, so we have, like especially the most vulnerable sections are the younger women who are between the 15 to 24. Yes, they are by actually participating into the education program, so they are most vulnerable, like because these age are also goes with our, like social norms and everything, because these are the prime age for the marriage also. And then it is having a double burden on the, like a female colleagues and the female workers, that, okay, at this age, okay, the prime age is also going on. So 15 is not the age, 18 onwards, but still the pressure, mounting pressure is actually coming on them also. So they have to decide, okay, whether to completely have like economic independence, or maybe like a to whatever the parents are saying, or maybe family is saying, okay, they have to complete. So these are the younger women who are more vulnerable and who are more, like susceptible to the market forces. So these are the cohort. That's what we are actually exploring. Okay, what they're actually doing with their life. Okay, that's more important thing. And as a result of that, okay, though they're actually economically or educationally they're getting more active into like higher educations, but at the same time they are not able to get the job that they're supposed to deserve. Okay, so that is also a worrisome problem for us. Like for instance, many of our colleagues, okay, in TISS or maybe in IIT also, wherever, whichever institutions, so they are actually getting good jobs, or maybe like a good educations, good quality educations, but they are not able to reap the benefit they're supposed to deserve. Okay, so that is the policy concerns that we have. So should we really have a gender neutral policies for the education employment, just like we have affirmative action policies? So should we really have like a kind of a thing? Many corporate has come up. So like Tata is the one of the, and Azim Premji is the one of the one. They have come up with these progressive policies, but like we are not sure, okay, how the other corporate are actually gonna. And this is also one of the results, okay, where like, we have also have a less representation from the female colleagues in the parliament also. As a result of that, their voices or maybe their concerns will not be like they're not been getting enough policy attentions that's supposed to receive. Okay, so that is also one of the main concerns that actually they're receiving. Yes. So almost like this is the ILO's data. So almost like 2.7 billion women, okay, legally restricted for having the same choices of jobs as men. So that is way more concern. So this restriction comes either from the society or social norms, or this restriction comes also from the law also. For instance, I can give you the law where the Factories Act of India, which is no longer there now, it has been termed into like a Industrial Relation Act. So here, like women can't work after 5:30 in the factory floor, especially in the factory floor. Why? Because of the safety concerns, and secondly, because they have to do the household chores. So we have been asking, okay, along with the other family scholar, okay, why this restriction is there? So some states have actually applied that restrictions. For instance, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka and Maharashtra has applied that restriction. But still many states, they do not allow women workers to have, like a, to do a job after 5:30 in the night, 5:30 till 6 o'clock in the morning. The reason is that, okay, the safety, and secondly, the companies are not willing to take up the cost to secure their safety. That is also major concern. That is also we are actually disturbing. So as you can see, okay, how many women are less likely to have a job. So you can see that, okay, women are actually, this is from the ILO's table and then ILO's data. As you can see the red bars, okay, across the world, okay. So women are supposed to likely to have a more job than the men, but women are actually working very less. So as you can see, and that also goes from the like a continent to continent and from the country to country. So this is a like a 4 panel that actually I'm actually presenting here in front of you. Yes, they are supposed to have a more jobs as compared to men, but actually they are working very less as compared to men. So that is also one of the worrisome. And you can see from the panel A, panel B, unemployment rate. As a result of that, women are not working in the male dominated job. So you will see their unemployment rate. So unemployment rate is very high, okay, across the global. So women workers are witnessing more unemployment rate as compared to male. And that's why their proportion is very high. But that also differ from, like a continent to continent, precisely because of a gender segregation of the work, or maybe social norms, or maybe social system that the country might be having. So where the women are actually working, so yes, women are working very heavily across the different sectors, okay. Employment by sector, as you can see from the different world and different continent. So women are mostly located into the service sector, and their job is mostly driven by the service sectors because of the passionate and also kind of a compassionate the women workers bring in, because it required a personal subject touch. So more, so I'm not actually making any sexist remark, but yeah. So it's like educations, health, and these are the women dominated jobs. But have these jobs been continued over the period of time? So that's a mute question, okay. Now what we have seen, especially in the pandemics and after the whole episode, so women dominated jobs has been now rescaling to the male dominated jobs. So women who used to have like a traditional like a monopoly over the particular type of a job, so these jobs are also now actually escalating. And this you can see it very horrifying figure, okay, whether it is 2000 whether it is 1995 and 2015, okay. So that is the worrisome job, okay, how we can retain those jobs also. At the end of the day, we don't want female worker to be as a member of the only household, but we also want women member to be go out and actually participate into the marketed activity, where they can perform economic activities and they can participate into the national growth or maybe economic development progress. That's main concern. So here you can see from across the different world uh, how the women workers are actually spread out and where actually they are doing the job. So here you can get the most of the time, and mostly like a figure you will see that women workers are mostly dominant in the service sectors, and these service sectors are informal sector, and that's the worrisome actually causes for us. So to understand, okay, why they're actually mostly relegated to like a service sector. So one of the reason is that, okay, labor market segmentation, which I'm sure, okay, most of the students must have gone through their classes or maybe their labor economics class. Okay, they must have heard this term before also. So labor market segregations, it is an biological difference that we create for the male and female. Also the social divide that we create, okay, for instance, X caste group will do this kind of a work, Y caste will do this kind of a work. So this is the perpetual mechanism that is enforced on the labor market by the social norms or maybe social institutions. So here the men and women are actually performing different tasks according to the social norms of the society. And as a result of that, okay, it limits the benefits to the women who can actually invariably can contribute to the economic growth, but it restricts their economic mobility. That's one important thing. Secondly, it also affect on the allocation of labor, which will have like a negative consequences. Like for instance, if it is the like a male dominated sector, okay, women can also do contribute, and also it will also have a larger implications for like a productivity and income distribution. If the women worker are not there as a part of as a part of like a larger economic system, so it will have the larger implications too. And if the women workers are not being paid decently, then it will have a larger implication for family consumption also. So it is like a vicious circle that actually goes around. We do know that, okay, there is a gender gap. Yes, there is a gender gap, but how to elevate that gender gap? How to address that concerns? So far, do we have, as an Indian economy, do we have stronger policy? Yes, we have a stronger law, but nobody actually followed that law. And then you will see, especially it is in informal sectors, women are paid differently than the men. And also, if you go into the sectorial vision, okay, definitely you will see like a huge differences between the how the males are being paid and how the females are being paid. So that's important thing. People often argue that, okay, because women are there mostly, like care economy kind of a thing. Okay, they're basically more into the care economy, but it's not. Okay, it's not like that. Women workers are there, okay, across almost all sectors, even the heavy industries and metal and everything. Women worker are there. Only thing is that, okay, do we have a capacity to really acknowledge, their participations or maybe their representation? We have not acknowledged so far, and that's why only two time use survey has been used. Two time use survey, and this is really bad. Okay, one was in 2001, second one was 2015-16. There's only two time use survey we have used to document the women contribution to the whole economy. And as a like a public policy scholar, and then also as a young scholars, all of you, this is a question for you also to understand, okay, why we are not able to accept the standard like SNA, we call it the standard natural exercise. Okay, it's basically extended national accounting method, okay, where the women's unpaid work also will get actually contributed to that. So where the women are actually working here, okay, so most of them, okay, so they are basically especially in the world, okay, so almost like a parity is, okay, wage and salary worker. But if you look into the developing countries, they are most into, like own account worker, or they are into the self-employed worker. So that's the only thing that's a very concern, okay, because own account worker, it will, okay, you have a small grocery shop at your home, from there you are selling something. So own account worker does not get recognized under the NSSO metrics. Secondly, self-employed is a very broad category, okay, where the women are working. So most of the time you must have seen, okay, if you go to the market, so all the bhajiwala thais and maushis are there, okay. So what they're actually doing, so they work in the morning at their home, and then evening they come out on the street and they actually perform their task. So these are the gray areas where we cannot say that these are the self-employed or maybe decent employed worker. These are the areas where women really like women workers really need to have, like a recognition either in the law or maybe in the statistical accounting also. So these are the workers, though they are contributing whatever the effort they're actually putting, they're contributing to the national progress. But we really need to have, like this kind of a system that will at least recognize will they. So this is like you could say that, okay, most of them are either they're the own account worker or maybe they're the self-employed. So these are the concerns that we have. And also you will see the Indian figure. These are the global figure. I'm setting the context. So it is not problem with the Indian women worker. It is problem about the global women worker. It's a larger context. It's not happening only in India. It's happening everywhere. And that's why we required a robust, like a policy mechanism for that. Then what is happening with the unpaid and the time poverty? So unpaid work, so women workers are doing okay. So like, for instance, we have a sisters, mothers, like aunties and everything. So they are helping us out in the morning activity, and then they're cooking food and everything. Apart from that, they're also engaged into marketed activity also. So they do part. So here we call it, okay, one is the concerns about the unpaid work. Second is the concern about the time poverty. Time poverty means that, okay, as long as they're working in their unpaid activity at the home, so this is been considered as their time poverty. That has been established in the economics literature very robustly, saying that, okay, women are more into a time poverty, because if the same work could have been done, okay, for instance, taking care of baby, if the same could have been done at the like a kindergarten or maybe any other private house activity, the same women, she or he would have actually earned the equal amount of a salary, okay, or equal amount of a wage. So time poverty is really causing them, and this time poverty has so many determinants. Family pressures, recently one of my colleague, okay, She used to work with me in TISS, but now she could not actually continue because like she has a 2 kids. So like a husband said that, okay, you just quit the job, and she quit the job. She quitted the job, and then I said, okay, Are, what will happen to your like a family income and everything? But like sometimes social norms are very like powerful in terms of like determining the women's choice also, and that's why we termed it as a like a time poverty, where like women are mostly relegated. Women's work are mostly relegated to like taking care of the family or elderly or maybe children at the home. But this is a double burden. That's what we're actually seeing, okay, where women are not able to learn new skills, and that's why they've been relegated. So this is also like a double cycle. Okay, if the women are not participating in the labor markets, or maybe they are not actively participating into like a marketed activity, then they are not able to learn the new skills which is there in the market. As a result of that, they will be, for longer period of time, they will push into to perform the low paid, low wages job. And that's why this is the double burden coming from the family, and also double burden coming from the market also. Like whenever they go to any kind of a task or maybe any kind of a job, okay, they will push to like a to take up like a low kind of a thing. Okay, basically, like for instance, like even like a Maushi comes every day to my home. Okay, what kind of a task she like I can do, she is also doing it. But I am actually retaining her because of the like I really care about her family, and then I'm actually paying the money. But same thing we are doing, then women are actually double burden. And then when I look into her wages also, though I pay little higher than what is the IIT Bombay standards are there, I pay little higher. But then I realized that, okay, if you do not allow women workers to be there on the market, so they will be pushed to do this kind of a rudimentary jobs which are very perennial in nature, and that doesn't have like that much like a contribution to the women's life also and to the society also. So that's more important thing that we are actually doing. Okay, so now let's look into, okay, where the women are actually spending more time. Okay, as you can see, uh, so like a paid and unpaid activity, as you can see. Okay, so in developing countries, though, women are actually doing little better as compared to the male. But there you can see that, okay, it's mostly into the paid activity, but they are mostly into the agriculture area. But this is the aggregated figure. But if you look into the Indian figure, which I'm gonna show you right way. So here, most of the time, the concerns for the women work and then women work and the larger society that we're actually discussing here is that, okay, they should spend more money, they should pay more attention into the unpaid activity work the women does at the home because of the societal pressure and everything. Yes, we do have a gender gap, and the gender gap is actually increasing over a period of time. Apart from the formal sectors, which is formal sector is almost like a 3% of the whole economy, but still 97% of the women are actually working, the giving dedication of 100% to whatever the task they're actually performing, but they are earning like almost like a lesser than what the male are actually uh, earning. So this is the like a larger background that I would like to brought you. So why we should actually promote gender equality? Yes, we have to promote the gender equality. Sorry, we have to promote the gender equality because sustainable development goal number 1, 2, 3, 4, it's all about like a gender equality that we have to do. So we have to bring like a partner in change, so which is like a most focus should be given on the female worker. And also we really need to have a social cohesion within male and female. The gender parity has to be there. The law is trying to make its effort, but I'm sure, okay, the law is not so effective unless and until the factories and their outlooks are going to change. So I'm not blaming the society will be like that only, but I'm just putting the onus on the factory managers and then owner of the companies. So they are the main one who are actually important to that. So yes, so we really need to bring like more equality between the women and men, and then we have to treat them as a like a human rights. Then women also need to, women are already playing an important role in the process of the whole development, because whenever like what we have seen in my COVID survey also, it was the women workers who really allowed, okay, who really permitted that the family should not slipping into like a poverty or maybe debt trap. It is a women worker who came out when the agriculture or maybe construction activity was actually sluggish in the urban areas, it is a women worker who came out from the rural areas and they really supported their family. So that is really important. They are the change maker. We really need to understand that concerns too. Okay, so policy action is necessary, and then yeah, we'll continue. Yes, so this is also like from the McKinsey's report. So this is also overestimated report. So overestimated report that we can see. So like for instance, as much as 28 trillion or maybe 26% could be added by annual GDP if we allow women workers to be there by 2015 in the labor market. So if we allow that, okay, unbridled access to the labor markets to all the women workers, then it could actually help not only to like a domestic economy, but also to the whole like a GDP. And then it is estimated that, okay, every year, okay, $20 trillion could be like a match with that. So which is like a combined GDP of Japan, Germany, and the UK that you can come. So these are the things that we can actually change. So gender and change. So these are the just a small remark. So now let's start with the main theoretical argument. So what is the theory is saying? So we have, like a GDP, which is like a country's, you could say the income, that is what is being made. So GDP come from the factor payments or maybe factor income. So which is land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and technology through which the country earns money. Okay. So, but here the labor is a big player. Okay. Because the labor adjusts, okay, what is the production, what is the distribution. So labor is the main player. Yeah, this is a gross domestic product, GDP. Okay. So it is like a main player. So here the labor is unlike, okay, land, labor, capital, which is the immobile and also you could say like a less human kind of a thing. Labor is a very dynamic player here. Here it like important player is there. So that's where in the whole economy, demand and supply, the forces that we discussed in different classes that get matched. So here what I would like to draw your attention. Here, so we have a, like how much contribution has actually made to the gross value added, which is your GDP. Okay. So here you have a wages to the worker and a different period. You have a total emolument, means total salary is given to the workers. Then total rent paid, how much interest rent you have paid to the landlord, interest you have paid to the money lenders, and profit. I would like to draw your attentions on the segment of wages and the profit, which is the first column, and then third last column there. As you can see, in the year of 2001 until the 2012-13, okay, this is from the NSSO data. So wages share means workers contribution or maybe worker share to the GDP has actually gone down almost like 10%, which used to be like a 1 decade before, like a 20%. But profit, as you can see, it has gone to the 50%. So if the government of India say that, okay, they are earning 100 rupees. So out of that 100 rupees, 50% will be gone to as a profit. So it will be enjoyed by the entrepreneur and the business owner. But only 10% money goes to the wages, to the worker. So worker, though they are like unlimited in supply, their contribution actually gone down, but profit contribution has gone down. And that's where we have the selective marketing or maybe selective concerns in order to have, like a selective, like a market segmentation, where why the wages share actually going down. N number of reasons. Okay. First, the labor kind of like a skill of the labor is not there. Secondly, the jobs are not been made. Okay. Or maybe jobs are also declining. Okay. Could be the reasons also. Or maybe automation could be the one reason. But the labor share to the GDP has actually gone down. That is really worrisome. As a result of that, it's not only the male worker who is going to get affected. It is also the female worker, because here you will see half, if you assume that, okay, half of the share goes to the female worker also, they are the one who are actually going to run the family, and they are the one who are actually going to help us to increase the consumption expenditure. It is not the male worker, it is the female worker who is associated with the increasing in the consumption expenditure. And let me tell you very frankly, as a hardcore labor economics, so whichever the states has actually experienced the highest number of consumption expenditure, that state has really progressed. One reason is that because that family or maybe household are able to increase the demand, and then in order to have the increase in demand, so they are getting actually good jobs also. So these are the things. Yes, so segmentation is the important matter that has come up, and in today's class we will also discuss a little bit about the segmentation. So segmentation comes from the different rules. So one is we have a gender rules, we have a caste rules, we have a religion rules, and recently I'm working on a one project, especially students coming from the northeastern part of the country, where they have an excellent English language premium, okay, English language skills, and you will see that these guys are actually, these students are actually working in the different industry, but how much they are paid, whether they are paid very fairly by the market? No, they are not paid very market. So they work, they stay in a very different locations, and just like, okay, like a migrant worker coming from the UP and Bihar and Jharkhand, so they also work in that life, but despite having a skill, they are being actually faced discrimination. So language is another one, you could say, barrier that is also like strengthening the like labor market discrimination in the in the whole society. So lack of enforcement, and then social markers that we have seen, okay, whether it is male, female, okay, then you're coming from the urban area, rural areas, caste wise, so many discriminations, or maybe not discrimination, it is a distinction. I would like to emphasize on the word, it is a distinctions that makes the labor markets apart. Okay, do we have any kind of inferences? Yes. So equity and efficiency is the main concerns. That's what the public policy role is there, labor laws role is there. So we wanted to promote the more and more equity and efficiency in the whole system, but we are not able to do that thing. One of the reason is that segmentation are so tight, and as a student of gender studies or maybe labor studies, so we really need to understand these segmentations very carefully. Yeah, so what is the state of labor market in the country? Yes, we have a fewer jobs, that like growth has not actually translated into creating a good productive jobs. Rather, it has actually created a very fewer job that we used to think. Most of the job has been created into the backward linkages industries, so especially in the informal sector. So for instance, jobs have been created into the gig economy, that's what we discussed, okay, and then platform economy, where workers are not actually getting, you know, like a fair wages. So for instance, you must be ordering food from like a Zomato and Uber Eats and other things, but look into the kind of wages they receive, okay, 15,000 per month, and they are working like slogging like anything. So I'm not using the word working, they slog like anything, like almost like 12 hours, 13 hours, 14 hours in a day, and they have to do, you know, like all these delivery pickups and everything. One of the reason is also is that, okay, though there is a replacement is happening, so replacement is happening, but not in all industry. So there is a constant fear that, okay, one of the reason is that automation is engendering, or maybe it is going to be harmful for the female worker. I said, okay, no, it's not, that hype is not there, because where there are very few industry who has the capacity to have, you know, like automation in the plant. Okay, only few industry except the automobile. No other industry has that, you know, like a capacity to, you know, like a bring in, you know, like a, such a drastic transformation into the system. So female workers, they don't have to worry. Only concern is that, okay, in this case, the female workers should get, you know, like a more prominence, because they are doing various kind of a job, like a high skill jobs, but that goes without recognized. Then we also have problem, okay, though the workers are actually producing more, so productivity has increased diversely, but that is not commensurating with the wages. So that is another concern that we have. Okay, workers are not being paid what they're supposed to be paid. For instance, if the Thai comes to my house, okay, she's legally should be paid 10,000 rupees per month, but are we really paying her? So like we are paying, okay, 6,000, 7,000 rupees per month. So that is also wage theft that we use in labor economics. Wage theft is the biggest problem happening in the like especially in the informal sector economy. The reason is that there are no like a law enforcement agency which can actually enforce the labor laws or maybe wage laws in this sector. So we also do have, you know, like a service, like a surplus labor. Yes, we have, okay, surplus labor we have, because if the worker is like, for instance, if somebody doesn't want to work on some wage rate, okay, you will always find, okay, the new person, okay, who is willing to work at the much uh, much lower wages. And that's why we also have, you know, like caste and gender disparity is a huge. Okay, according to the PLFS, Periodic Labor Force Survey data, which I'll show you also figure, Indian women earn 40% lesser than the Indian men. That's my new paper, and that has already been published. So that's really worrisome. 40% lesser wages. So imagine that, okay, kind of a gender inequality actually we are promoting. So over a period of time, yes, so GDP has increased, GDP has actually grown, especially from the backbone of informal sector. So we have seen, okay, the GDP has actually grown over a period of time. But what has happened, okay, GDP has not translated into the creating more jobs. And if you don't have a more jobs, so definitely the male are going to take disproportionate advantage about, fewer opportunity. And that's exactly has happened. Okay. So the job has been created, especially in the few sectors, but these have been mostly grabbed by the male workers rather than the female workers. And that's really worrisome that we have. So as you can see, okay, the green line, which is going up, okay, so which is the productivity. So people are actually working more and people are producing more, but that is not commensurating with the earnings. Okay. So the gap has to actually breach. So gap is not actually breaching in the sense, okay, like they are not meeting together in the sense that, okay, people are working more, they're actually slogging more hours, working or producing more, but wages are not actually at par with the worker. So how should we proceed here? Okay, yes, so do we have, okay, the whole like when we're actually talking about engendering labor economics, yes, so we have, like a larger comprehension share, okay, where we really want to see, okay, how the things would look like. So here, how we can address the problem about insecurity, inequality, and fragmentation. Now we can no longer go back to the state socialism. That's what is very clear. Okay. So now we have a welfare state capitalism, and now neoliberal market has already there. So we discussed about a variety of capitalism. Okay. So how we can actually engage private sector engagements and everything. So here the states need to focus on the SBR, which is called the state business relation. So what does it actually mean? So in the state business relation, state should come out with the soft rules, and then state should, regulate the way the companies are actually working, because we can't go to the hard ways, in the sense hard rules, in the sense, okay, we can't actually simply put, okay, owner of the company behind the bar, or maybe you can actually punish them. No, this is not the way. We can't do it, because we have to be little, advanced with what we are actually doing. So SBR is the model, and where not many of the like UN agencies and the European agencies are actually working on that. State business relations needs to be improvised. So where instead of punishing the employer rather than regulate them. So that has new approach has come. Yes, and also now, like after the 1970s, okay, when the globalization was actually at the peak period, so we really need to talk about distributive justice and how we can actually do the distributive justice. Only way is that, okay, the way we used to regulate the private companies, that we are in, because public sector is no longer there. Maybe after 10 years, public sector will collapse. But what we require, okay, constant engagement with the private sector. So that is the new way. I would not say, okay, it is a CSR kind of activity, but the state should come out with the rules, which are the soft law provision that we call it in the legal terminology. Soft law provisions where we need to engage with the concretely with the private sector enterprise. Okay. So what is the structure of a female labor market in India? So this is interesting slide for all of you. So where are the female are located in the whole world, whole country? So if you look into, if you took into like a first quadrant, which is the formal employment, which is the government jobs. So 18% female workers are there in the urban area and 4% in the rural area. So 4% in the rural area, so they maybe Asha or maybe like maybe working with the government schools and other things. So these are the state of the affair in the whole formal employment. Now look into the right side of it. Informal employment in the organized sector. So these are the work, okay, which is done by, like a contract worker. So like, for instance, many institutions have, like a contractual employee. So 8% of the females are working in the rural area and 23% are working in the urban area, working in a different capacity, whether it is like stenographers or maybe typist or maybe computer operator, different capacities. So 23% are the urban area. Now look into the informal employment in the unorganized sector. How many informal employment are there? So you will see the maximum percent are there in the urban area, which is 26%, and rural area, which is 22%. So women are working into, like a different kind of home-based industries where they are the informal sector. So majority of the contribution are there into urban areas and into the informal sector in the unorganized sector. And there are very few into the formal sector. Now look into the another category, which is for most of us, like a really disturbing. 40% women workers are there in the urban areas. 40%. That is so like a huge amount. So these are the who are the self-employed. So they must be, like a vegetable like a vegetable sellers, or maybe like a working as like as a maushi, like a housemaid help and kind of a things there actually. That is most vulnerable and most precarious category that I use in my lectures also. These are the category that really required, because self-employed has not been recognized by the Indian laws or Indian labor laws too. And these are the most vulnerable categories where the women, though like they might be thinking about, okay, they are the self-entrepreneur, which is good for their self-interest and maybe like self-confidence. But these are the most vulnerable category because it is never getting protected by the labor laws. And that is the more thing, okay, where we are actually pushing our women workers in the whole scenario. So what is the theory saying? Okay, so now this is typical from the economics graph. I'm sure, okay, most of you may not like it. Yeah, yes. So we have a like upward sloping SS is a supply curve, downward sloping demand curve, and here we have a equilibrium curve. That's the way we understand. Okay, if there are particular wages are there, so people will come and they will work, and then that's how the market will clear. Okay, so on your bottom line, which is the quantity labor like employed, and then on your x-axis you have like y-axis you have like a wage rate. So at the given wage rate, people will come and people will work. This is a very ideal situation that we teach and that we learn from the theory, where equilibrium level is that, okay, where number of jobs will be met by the number of people. So there should not be any discrimination. So whether it is male or female, both will get the jobs according to their particular sector. But this is not the easy task. If you look into that, first you have a labor market factors that really affect, okay, that supply and demand never meets in the real life. Okay, so it is just only theoretical propositions. Why reason is that, first, there are labor market structures, patriarchy, gender norms, okay, that really affect. Secondly, we do have unlimited supply of a labor, so that is also coming. So for instance, somebody offer you to work on, let's say, on the 5,000, there are people who are willing to work on 4,000. Okay, so unlimited supply of a labor also depresses the wages, and that's why we are not able to accommodate more and more female. For instance, there are social taboos too. Okay, like female can actually work, okay, at a much higher rate, but like the moment the female get into the job, there are male who will come to get that particular job, and then they will depress the wages. So here also, this is a like a gender conflict, and the gender competitions also happen between the two genders, and that is also really impacting. And then we do have like a caste as a identity, that is also like, for instance, particular caste group will not be getting a jobs, especially in the house, okay, household kind of a thing. Okay, so there are upper caste households, so they will not allow, okay, if somebody is from the lower caste also. So these are also barriers that is also social identity do matter. And then wage inequality is already there, so it is naturally like a accepted kind of a fact. Okay, the wage inequality will be there, and it is really impacting. Okay, so how we theorize this thing? So first, when we are actually talking about the segmentation approach, so we really need to look into the non-competing groups. So who are the non-competing groups? So first, unskilled workers, then skilled workers, then skill with the higher order, in the sense that, yeah, high skilled workers, and the professionals. So these are the groups in which we divide the whole labor markets in a different approach. And these are the workers, they're working in the segments. They are not competing with each other. So for instance, learned professionals or maybe highly skilled workers are not competing with the unskilled workers. So in this way, the whole labor market also works. And then based upon the social identity of a women worker, we actually get divided. So we have like a whole grand theory. So whether it is a neoclassical, classical approach, institutional approach, human capital approach, but these all one way or other way, they have come up with the one thing that, okay, yes, labor market is divided between the gender, divided between the social groups, divided between the looks, divided between the religion. And yes, and we are actually working on the lot of empirical studies. So for instance, my whole work on the last 10 years is on the understanding the different aspect of segmentation. Okay. Now look into the macro trend, what is happening with the female and male. Okay, so yes, agriculture is supposed to be the biggest employment provider, but agriculture has received a negative growth rate, and also industry too, and their percentage of GDP has also gone down. So you can see the red figures. So they are always lagging behind. Only the service sector is actually grooming, and in the service sector, because we don't have a law to regulate the service sector, so service sectors are nothing but mostly informal sectors that we are actually witnessing to. Now look into the male and female workers data. So FE stands for a formal employment, then II stands for informal employment in the informal sectors, then IFE informal employment in the formal sectors, and self-employment. You will see, especially the second line, self-employment, women are mostly dominated into that. Even male are there, but female are more than the male. So as a result of that, share of a self-employment has actually increased a lot. And sorry to say that, okay, we don't have a good robust studies that will actually document the self-employment, except late professor Sharit Bhomik, who was our associated with the TSS. He started with the NASV, and then he made some effort to give them a recognition along with other colleagues also. But yeah, so a share of a female employment is very high in the self-employment category. That is really worrisome, because these are the category which are not covered by the laws. As you can see, almost like a 46% female workers are there, 47% almost, okay, self-employed. And you can see, okay, casual and then workers, they're actually almost like a declining trend. So share of the in terms of how much they're actually getting. So manufacturing, still it is the best options where we can employ more and more female workers. Constructions is almost like a declining. Construction is almost like a decline. Yeah. Yes. Dipiksha. Dipshika, sorry.
Sir, I was very curious when you were telling that self-employed. Do self-employed also include the social entrepreneurs, the female social entrepreneurs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do. For instance, tomorrow you start, from your house, okay, like a kind of a thing, like a tiffin services, okay, from your house, okay, because you like cooking and then you start, okay, you will be treated as self-employed. But people are not realizing that, okay, if you register, if you go to like in Western countries or maybe advanced countries, so there your services will be recorded, because you will be paying taxes now, because you will be charging money from your customers and then you will be paying taxes. In India, we don't have that kind of, because since your tax contribution is not recognized, then how they will recognize you as a women worker? Okay, so that's where the main dicey comes. So what our effort as a feminist group and as a part of that group also, like starting from from our TIS, Lakshmi Lingam is there, Sangeeta is there, Sujata ma'am is there, and also like Meena Menon and other things. Okay, so what our effort is that, okay, to get these recognitions for all the kind of a work. So that is our effort. So Maitri Krishnaraj, she is like a founding member of that. So in her writing also, if you look into the 1980s, 70s, so her job was to, like Indira Hirve, by the same, or maybe Jimo Lunni, you can pick up. So their main effort was that, okay, to get it recognized first, and self-employed, because it is so dicey, because you do it based upon your willingness. Nobody is forcing you. ठीक है, आज टिफिन दे दिया, आज खाने का मन कर दिया. Tomorrow, if you don't want to give, you can stop it. And that's why, because of that willingness, is not been recognized by the act or maybe laws, the prevailing laws in the country. And that's where the question comes.
So, sir, is it related to something Grih Udyog? Because in my bachelor's, I have learned about this thing related to Grih Udyog. And in Chhattisgarh also, people from different colleges are putting their incubation cells, and they are asking students to put their ideas also there and to go in field works and to know people who are working like this and address them to register under Grih Udyog. I don't know much about Grih
So
Udyog, but
Grih Udyog, we call it own account worker. If you look into own account worker, मतलब कि तुमने अपने घर से ही बिजनेस चालू कर दिया. Okay, whether it is papad mapping or maybe like अचार बनाना है, so that is your own account worker. But own account worker get recognitions because of the KVIC. Okay, Khadi Village Industries. Okay, but self-employment not. For instance, today, like if you are a good cook, so if you decide to have 15 tiffin, okay, campus में तुमको देना है, so there they will not recognize you as a self-employed. Like if you go to like a Zomato also, and if you really like to have a good cakes, so you will see a lot of like homemade cakes, okay, where the women workers are actually feeling that okay, if they enjoy cooking, so like they are actually providing that service. But what Zomato is acknowledging them as a service provider, but the law is not acknowledging them.
Okay, so it would be just something right. Zomato में अगर cloud kitchens का आ गया concept, तो वो cloud kitchens वाला concept चल जाएगा, लेकिन उनका concept जो है वो उसको वो नहीं करेंगे.
Law में उसको नहीं translate होता है, मतलब कि Zomato acknowledge कर रहा है ना, Zomato is there to do business, okay. For them, okay, अगर कोई दे रहा है services, upload कर रहा है, because see, like it is easy to have like you be entrepreneur on Zomato, you can easily go, but yes, does the government recognize your work? And you can see, like I usually like okay, lot of like home food, and they really they are very good. कभी कभी मेरे को lunch भी होना तो मैं तो वही से मंगा लेता हूँ home food, and they will give you nicely. But do we really recognize them? So modern technology are accepting women's work. Okay, they're accepting their contribution. But does our laws or maybe our like a gigantic system, NSSO, PLFS, do they really recognize? No, they are not recognized. That's why the concern comes. Okay. So that's where the concerns come. Okay. And that's where important thing is. But it's good question. Good question. Is there any other doubt?
No, sir. Actually, I was having this only because many of the females right now are working in this sector in this form only. So I think so. It is a very great pitched or concern.
No, it's a good research topic. One of my PhD students, I think she will join from June. Okay, so we are exploring that aspect. Okay, where the modern technological innovations are accepting the women's work. Okay, so technology doesn't discriminate between the male and female. Okay, अभी तुम Zomato पे है, अगर तुम्हारे पास तुमको अच्छा cookery skill है, or maybe like for instance, there is a website called Urban Clap. ठीक है? Yes, Urban Clap में, so like every day the lady comes wrongfully to my home, okay, and like she is basically a babysitter, ठीक है. She wrongfully कोई ना कोई आ जाता है babysitter के लिए, और क्योंकि same flat मेरे पीछे के इसमें है, okay, because they have a kids, तो छोटा बच्चा है 1 साल का है, so Urban Clap also provides services like this, okay, and they are paid very honestly. So I asked, okay, that lady, okay, how much she is paid? She paid 600 rupees per day. Okay, so modern technologies are accepting, even though gender stereotypical roles, but they are actually honoring that, but also paying them also at the competitive rate. Okay, जैसे for instance like अगर गांव में कोई दाई वगैरह होती है, then she will take a lump sum amount, but now on the daily basis पे some female workers are coming, they're taking care of the kids, छोटा बच्चा 1 साल का है, and they are paid 600 rupees per day, which is good for me. 600 rupees is good, decent salary होता है. But here the technology is accepting, but our system is not accepting. So that is the more challenging. That is the more challenging.
Rahul,
yeah,
please will you share with us the Sharad Bhaumik's work?
Sure. So, madam, Sangeeta, he has worked a lot. Okay, NASV, he started the NASV when he joined TISS. No? So he is a founding member, NASV. And then because of that, only the Model Act came, and which was implemented in Delhi. So like how the like a street vendor should be look like they should have a separate place and everything. And then he really worked for the female street vendors. He has worked a lot. There is no political will. That is another way. But we have a good act. Okay. Okay. So is there any doubt? Okay. If there are no, so let's continue. Okay. Now look into the macro trend. Okay. What is happening? So first, here I would like to draw your attention to the manager's compensation. So what has happened? Okay. Though we have an unlimited supply of a worker, and if you look into, like a growth of salaries. Okay. So workers are working very hard. Okay. So workers actually, but the workers' wages are not commensurating with what they're actually kind of a work they're doing. Okay. So workers are not paid what they're supposed to receive. But here, managers actually increase a lot. So for instance, okay, managers' compensation has increased a lot. As you can see, the first trend line, okay, where the manager is actually earning more than the worker, where the worker are actually putting more effort. So that's the concern is there, where our salaries are looking. And also partly we are also responsible, because in TISS also we do produce managers from our School of Management. So that is also thing, okay. So like managers' salaries are actually increasing, but workers' salaries are not increasing. That is really worrisome, because it really impact not only the like poverty line, but also on the family consumption expenditure too. Here I would like to draw your attention to the female workers, where they're actually located. So as you can see from the different states, just focus on the ratio of unorganized to organized sector. So yellow bar line, you can see where the more female are there. So in the Assam, more female workers are there. Kerala, more female workers are there. Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, more female workers are there. And you can also see the states where the female workers are very less. So you can see, okay, Madhya Pradesh has the lowest number of a female labor supply. West Bengal has the lowest number of a female labor supply, though it is supposed to be like a left-leaning, used to be the left-leaning states, and they have a female chief minister too. So Odisha has a less female labor supply. So here you can see, okay, the whole trajectory is where the more female workers are there. And you can look into the Maharashtra. Maharashtra is also like not like a doing good. Okay, it is also like a as compared to the national average, the female labor supply is very less as compared to many things. But only Assam state is there. And one of the reasons why the Assam state is more high, one of the reasons is that, okay, tea plantation. Because in the tea plantations, especially the tea pluck growers and also pluckers, so there most of the workers are the female workers. Most of the workers are the female workers, and that's why their female labor supply is more high here in this case. Now look into the gendered view, okay, how the women workers are spread across, the whole country. So where are the women workers are there? So I would like to draw your attention to the share of a women in occupations. So you can see. So if you look into, like a skilled and agriculture, used to be 25%, but now female labor supply has actually gone down to 22%, almost like a 3% has actually gone down. Personal sales and security, yes, there has a slight increase from 14 or 15% to the 17%. But senior manager, okay, so that's my question is there. As long as more and more women are actually getting into higher education, they're getting highly qualified degrees and everything, but their share into the top, like high skill jobs, they're very, very pathetic. So for instance, in 2011, it was supposed to be in the managerial position, 13%. Now it has almost like half, like 7%. So that is really worrisome for me. Yes, elementary occupations, it is slightly increased. Professionals, they are more or less same. Technical and associate professionals, it is slightly increased. But the only thing is that, okay, as women workers get into the ladder of, like a high skill, like if you have the low skill to high skill parameters, so women workers are missing over there, and that's really worrisome. Could be the reasons. So one reasons we call it the marriage market effect. Okay, so marriage market effect, that is heavily established term we use, hypothesis. So women workers or maybe women colleagues get into the higher educations precisely because of one reason is that, okay, to have like a future marriage market prospect, so they can have. So that's why you have a IIT wala udka apna matrimonial hota hai, IIMS wala ka hota hai. It's not only for the market gain sake also, and that is also like a sexual remark I'm making, but that is true also. That, okay, marriage market effect, I have studied in one of my paper, many international scholars have studied, especially in India. women are actually getting into the higher educations not precisely to get into a job. So this is not applicable to the all Indian women worker, but also like especially coming from the like elite background. So they get into the higher education precisely to have a good marriage market prospect, so that okay, they will get a good bride and their future could be secure. So that is also one of the illogical reasons that has been cited by the policymakers. Women are studying because of the marriage market. So we also need to break that also. So I would request all my young colleagues to get into the narratives about that, understand okay, why is it only because, and especially women's studies can do that thing more precisely. I can help you out with the labor studies and labor economics, but also we need to break that stereotyping also. Though I was wrong to complete that paper in 2015, but then over a period of time I realized that it's not only about the marriage market, it's about many things, okay, societal pressures and so many things that women workers, especially at the age group of 19 to 25, that they go through. So that is like a very crucial, okay, so many pressure. And if you come from, let's say, well-to-do family and happen to be the upper caste, then the pressure is more. So that is also a delicate balance that we have. Yes, Deep Shikha.
Yes, sir. I'm very much interested in this topic because I have chosen my dissertation work in related to this only.
All the best. I will help you out. You can always reach out.
I need your help.
I can give you the more data. Don't worry.
Yes, sir. I'm actually recently I'm also going because many of the female workers who are going outside from Chhattisgarh after getting such a higher education, but then also leaving their job after 5 years. So I'm very curious that why women who are studying so hard are then also leaving their job after.
No, that is also
5 years.
a problem. Like an elite institution like TISS, I do consider it is elite, but it is not elite like IIT Bombay. Okay, it is still a working class university. So here also I have seen, okay, a lot of female students, okay, computer science is like a top-notch department here in IIT Bombay. After that, okay, they sit for the placement and then nothing. Okay. And then I get the stories, okay, like they are committed, okay, they get married and everything, okay. And then mostly here the drive is the female engineering students, because there are very few engineering students are there, female engineering students, and their parents' prospect is okay, that okay, somebody from the NRA, you get somebody NRA, and that is also happened to be the IIT Bombay or maybe IIT student only. So IIT male who is working somewhere, okay, he or he wants to get married, so that's how within 1 year they get married. So this is also like we are also discussing in our gender cell also, that how we can motivate female workers or like a female youngster, but they are also under compulsion from the parents. So nobody wants to get into that private domain also. If they want to get it married, so it's fine, but otherwise it is also a peculiar thing. So one of the main reason, that's what I have noticed here, and also in the secondary data also, why despite getting into the higher education, so we have a fair policies where we are promoting more and more female students to go to the STEAM discipline, management discipline, social sciences, but it is not reflected in their employment scenario. So it is really worrisome for me.
Yes, sir. That's the only thing which I'm very curious, because after 2010, more of the female have been graduated, gotten such a higher education, but then also employment rate has been seen declining. Dowry rates have been also increased. I think so. There is a very intersectional. I think so that there is so much of connection between all these stuffs and female leaving their jobs for this. I'm very curious.
Sangeeta ma'am, no, okay, TSS has done very interesting study on the dowry, okay, among the youth. I think it was when 3-4 years before, okay, TSS faculty, they are very amazing, they do so much work. I think they should publish also. I think that report is still there in the library, and literally, so what they have done, okay, IIT, IIMs, all these elite institutions like NIT and everything, 2 crore तक डाउरी चला जाता है भाई, 2 करोड़ की, बाप रे, इतना तो सैलरी भी नहीं हमारा.
यस सर. और जबकि डॉरी प्रोहिबिशन एक्ट के आने के बावजूद भी जैसे जैसे कंट्री हमारा डेवलपमेंट की तरफ जा रहा है, वैसे वैसे डाउरी बढ़ता ही जा रहा है, जबकि वो कम होना चाहिए उसके बावजूद. और जिस तरीके से, मुझे बोलना नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन जिस तरीके से मैट्रिमोनियल मार्केट या फिर शादी के मार्केट में जैसे लड़कियों का एजुकेशन बढ़ रहा है, वैसे वैसे लड़कों का भी एजुकेशन बढ़ रहा है, और फिर वैसे ही डाउरी रेट्स भी बढ़ रहे हैं.
नहीं पता है, फॉर इंस्टेंस व्हाट आई रियलाइज दैट, ओके, this is my hypothesis. This is, you can work it out. अभी मैं एक पेपर पे काम कर रहा हूँ. If the women's education are very high, okay, तो मुझे लगता था कि एजुकेशन हाई है तो फिर देन डाउरी रेट शुड कम डाउन. ओके, उल्टा हो रहा है. जितना एजुकेशन बढ़ रहा है उतना डाउरी भी बढ़ रहा है. ओके, उसका डिजिट भी बढ़ रहा है, मतलब कि 2 डिजिट उसमें और ऐड होते जा रहा है. सो दिस इज रियली, एंड देन आई रियलाइज, ओके, इज इट हैपनिंग अक्रॉस द कंट्री? नो, दिस इज हैपनिंग स्पेशली ना न्यूली मिडिल क्लास एंड एलिट सोशली जो है, मतलब कि उनके पास है, उनमें ज्यादा है. वर्किंग क्लास और दलित्स में और ट्राइबल्स में इतना नहीं. like actually looking into the case studies also, उनमें इतना नहीं जितना मतलब कि एलिट क्लास में और न्यूली मिडिल क्लास में ज्यादा है. I should not exaggerate that statement also, because that is also, you call me sexist remark है, but then I realized that no, it is too high, और that is really worrisome.
Yes sir, I think so. वो social exclusion वाला जो part आ जाता है ना, अगर उसमें लोग मत रहे करके जो social exclusion और mental exclusion वाला जो part हो जाता है society, I think so हमारा middle class उस चीज को cope up करने के लिए बार बार उसी चीज में ही फंसते जा रहा है.
Yes, yes,
पुणे यूनिवर्सिटी में शर्मिला रेगी का स्टूडेंट, मतलब he was my friend. Now he is teaching at Ahmednagar. He is a trained in sociology. उसका एमफिल का काम है, और उसने अहमदनगर डिस्ट्रिक्ट के ऊपर फोकस करके काम किया है कि किस तरीके से ग्लोबलाइजेशन इम्पैक्ट द ट्रेडिशन और ये सब कुछ. तो मतलब दोनों को भी मतलब हेल्पफुल रहेगा वो एमफिल थीसिस.
And definitely, you know, like a professor late शर्मिला रेगे, तो उनसे तो उस टाइम पे तो मैं स्टूडेंट था उनका, लेकिन ऑफ बीट में वो बहुत हमको ऐसा पॉइंट देते थे कि मतलब कि अभी उस टाइम पे हमारा इतना मैच्योरिटी नहीं था, लेकिन अभी मैं उनको बात को सुनता हूँ ना, देन आई रियलाइज कि दिस इज सो मेनी थिंग्स. एंड विमेन स्टडीज के कनेक्ट रहने के लिए मतलब कि यू गाइज आर वेरी डायनामिक. ओके, मतलब विमेन स्टडीज में स्टूडेंट जो आते हैं ना, मुझे लगता है कि दे आर मच बेटर देन द मैनेजमेंट स्टूडेंट्स. दे आर मच बेटर देन द मैनेजमेंट स्टूडेंट. इट्स नॉट एग्जैजरेटिंग यू, क्योंकि मैं 3 साल से पढ़ा ही रहा हूँ ना, तो मुझे पता है कि मैं स्टूडेंट से हैंडल करता हूँ.
Sir, I'm a management student.
Yeah, but still, okay, you're taking this class. I think like you have like sincerity and then empathy towards the subject. Karte. Yeah. Let's take the Pratiksha's question. Yes, Pratiksha, go ahead.
So,
yeah, go ahead, Pratiksha.
Can't hear you.
When a girl child is more educated, so it's in groom them exactly what you said. When you said it's your hypothesis, rates are going increasing for them. So this is my addition to it, because it's enough that becomes to proper scope. People are amongst the elitist group. They are okay because
Pratiksha, we can't hear you. Can all hear her? Because I can't hear her.
Pratiksha, your voice is breaking. I think your voice is cranking. I think you can re-log in.
Or you can put it in a chat. You can put your question in the chat. It's just not audible.
Yeah.
Like it is coming, but it is cracking a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so let the Pratiksha come back. So let's continue. So look into the women's shares in the sectors. So as you can see, agriculture has actually declined. And one of the reasons, if you are really exploring that aspect, okay, MGNREGA, when it was launched in 2009, so it was supposed to be the booster for the women workers, especially in the rural area during the distress period of agriculture. So now female labor supply actually decreased a lot. One of the reasons is that reverse migration is actually happening, and that is really concerns. So all the work used to be done by the female workers, now it's been done by the male worker. So female job has been shifted towards the male worker. Yes, Pratiksha, yes, you can continue.
Yeah. Hello everyone. Am I audible now?
Now it is perfect. Go ahead.
Okay. So I just, because it was an interesting presentation and everything, all the discussions, I felt very relevant. So I wanted to add an observation that it's also seen that as the girl child is getting up in the educational ladder, it's becoming difficult for her to get grooms, particularly in the middle class, and they are asking for more dowry. And because that kind of education is not okay with that class, particularly if it's the elite class, maybe they know the value of education. And the people in the lower rung of the social hierarchy, they are also not much yet. And because of the threat, they are asking for more dowry. And it's the contrast of what was actually expected, that when the girl child gets educated, they won't be asking for more dowry, because she will be independent at the later stage of her life, or she'll earn more. But this is what I feel interesting as well as disappointing. So
Yeah. Pratiksha, I completely agree with you. You know what is the average age of marriage? In the Nfhs 2, average age of marriage was 24. It was in the year of 2004. Okay. Now, what is the average age of marriage according to the Nfhs 5? Average age of marriage has become, like 29-30. Okay, 29-30. So, like all the earlier social taboo used to have, it has now, women are actually breaking their own borders, they are now actually going beyond, okay, and then actually they are exercising their own right, which is fine. Yeah, we do have, a conservative societies too. Like, for instance, like I do have my sister also, and she has not yet married. Okay, so like I'm still like a finding after a certain point. Okay, the traditional things won't work out, then you have to go with like a arranged marriage kind of a things. So now also we are also juggling with these things, but these are the new normalcy that we are actually witnessing. That is a new things are actually coming up, where both male and female are actually breaking the borders, and you're coming, like for instance, like when I got married, this is my personal example. When I got married, so it was, you could say that child marriage only, because my spouse is also from TISS only. So when I got married, that point of a time, like it was a mounting pressure. Okay, we should start family and everything. We haven't started. I said, okay, we will decide. Now for my marriage, almost like 10 years has actually gone. So it is the new working couple, or maybe youths, they will decide, okay, what the boundaries should look like. It's not like that, okay, there is a mounting pressure, because we do have to go to a career ladder and everything. Yes, what has happened, notice is that, okay, as the women education increases, so their dowry rate is also increasing. So that is for me worrisome. So that is really concerns for me. But I hope, okay, I have able to give you the answer based upon my personal. Yes, Varda, you have. Yeah, Varda she is my student. Yeah.
Yeah, hello everyone. So I have also an interesting observation about the marriage market and dowry, because I've happened to have registered on one matrimonial website also, and I generally look into these prospects. So in the middle class upper families, boys generally prefer working spouse, and is it difficult to run a family with a single income? Now, as they prefer a working woman as a wife, the question remains that what happens with her salary? So if we see her value is correlated to her package, and then isn't it a dowry? I mean, redefining dowry is also an important thing. That her value, her worth is being judged on the basis of not just her education, but also on the basis of her package, especially when it is urban upper middle class families. So yeah, that could be an interesting aspect also.
Sure. Thank you. And I think Varda is actually sharing because she is a government of Maharashtra employee, and I'm sure, okay, she must be also facing a lot of personal challenges at her. And then, okay, whenever like she is been approached by like a male, so they will look into her annual package, like how much she is earning, and based upon that. And I'm sure, okay, most of the female colleagues were working not only in the government but also in the corporates too. Okay, they are actually having the same kind of issues. Okay, because net worth of an individual will be judged by how much you earn. Okay, and in social sector we hardly earn anything, our salary is not that great, but still it will judge. So that is also bad. Okay, so somewhere we need to break these stereotypicals, and one way to do is that to do a good research. Okay, go to an industry, go to a small sectors, come up and publish. That most important thing. What TISS has not taught us. Okay, TISS has taught us to do a good research, but TISS has not taught us how to publish it. Now I think the new TISS will now actually come to that level also. We have to publish a lot, because that's only we can influence the policy. And sorry, Sangeeta, but and Sujata also. This is the thing, okay, that is there. Okay, because I have also done so many work for TSs, but like they never encourage us to publish, so that's the thing. Okay, they should incentivize, but anyway, that's another part. Okay, so let's coming up to the women's like a contribution actually come down from the agriculture. Manufacturing is the only sectors where we can actually have. Construction sector is no reliable, though we collect. Okay, maternity says, another says. So maternity construction sector is no reliable for the women because it does not promote a good quality jobs. It provides the bad quality jobs, and that's we have to also make the distinction, because just loading and unloading is not a like a quality job. But only thing is that where we can actually increase our like employment for the women worker is the manufacturing sector. Now look into the share of a manufacturing sectors where the women are actually located. As you can see on your left hand side, all the high skill jobs where the women female share actually declined. Okay, if you look into the orange one, so always the bar is actually lower. And if you in the left hand side, these are the high quality job, high skill job. Where the women are actually located more is basically the unskilled jobs, which is like apparel, textile. Okay, unskilled job. Tobacco is a heavy. Okay, in the tobacco like a tobacco like plant leaf plucking and everything. So there the women workers are very heavily located. So what is happening? So female labor force is there, but they are highly concentrated into the unskilled job, which is not a desirable from the economic point of view. What we required, okay, we required a policies that where the women jobs or maybe women labor force participation could be increased into the high skill job. So that's the first part we need to see. Look into like, the share of a women into the service sector also. Here also in the service sector, sorry. So here in the service sector, you will see there most of the population is there into like a domestic services. Okay, still it has actually come down, but in the high skill service sectors, their share is almost like a negligible, as you can see, less than 10%. So that is really worrisome for us also, that okay, why we are not able to actually provide more job. Don't worry, I will send you the slides so you can have a second look also in the class. Now look into their representation index, gender based segregation index. As you can see, if the bar is high, the trend line is very high, so there you will see a lot of gender based segregation jobs are there in manufacturing and service sector. So Arunachal Pradesh, it is very high. Maharashtra, it is very high, like gender based segregations. Women, though despite okay, it is the highly industrialized states, still women are not actually doing their jobs, or maybe their job is not been accounted in the market activity. Kerala is very high. Kerala, though it is left-leaning state, also is very high. Uttarakhand is very high. Telangana is very high. Nagaland is very high. So the segregation is there very high. And Odisha or Punjab has a less segregations, but I don't know like which industry they are located, because this is based upon how many female workers are there as compared to the male workers. So this is based upon that. So gender segregation index can be really quite intuitive. So even though people consider that okay, the Maharashtra is a highly progressive state, but we do also have like a policies which restrict the women's activity into the labor market, especially in the factory act, okay, where women are not allowed to work after 5:30, even in the KPO or maybe like a your BPO or like so there women workers are not allowed to work after the night shift. Okay, so look into the Nfhs figure. Yes, 55% of the women, they reported they have worked almost like a year, whole year they work, but whether they are actually currently working, only 23% women are actually working, as compared to 76% are actually not working. So they are working, but they are working at the part of their household chores or maybe household work activity. Now where they're actually located, so not in the work and occupation. So 70% women are not in the occupations, or they are not in the workforce. 15% they are in the agriculture, and only 6% they are into like a manual or skilled and unskilled job. Okay, so kind of earning they're actually leaving. So I would like to draw your attention to the type of earning. So almost like okay, 19% they say that they are not paid, and 67% they are said that they are paid. They're paid in cash only. So that's the only component, but remaining 40% or maybe like a 30% women workers are not being paid either in cash or maybe in time. Looking into the education profile, yes, 88% women don't have like a education, so they are illiterate. only like a 3% women have, primary educations, 9% have a secondary educations, and only 3%, it's 2.90% women have their higher education. So that is also, like the precarity is not happening at the income level, but also happening at the education level too. So whatever the statement we make, okay, women are actually going into the higher education, but the macro data doesn't show you that the complete picture. So like here I would like to stop you because like I will send you the spam. So here are my basic conclusion. So the future of a work, especially from the gender point of view, like it's getting very intrinsic and very complex. It is leading to a deadweight loss to the whole society. So we have documented the growing incidence of precarity and vulnerability, especially for the women workers. Discrimination is there, so we really need to identify, okay, what are the determinant of the discrimination, so we can draw the causal relationship or not. We do have a constitutional provisions that we teach here also in the constitutional law and public policy. Constitution article 15 do not actually discriminate, but there are labor laws that prohibit. So I'm not talking about discrimination. So there are two things we should keep in mind. One thing that, okay, prohibition, one thing about the discrimination. The law does not discriminate, but law do prohibit. So prohibit is also one step towards the discrimination. The moment you restrict somebody, okay, don't go out. So that is also one thing. So what we required, okay, so we required more and more models. So we call it the flexibility models, where income and social security could be attained. Human capital formation that really need to have, like more important, and serious attention needs to be given, as B.R. Ambedkar has pointed out that, okay, the Indian labor market is, we call it, okay, it's completely subdued by the graded inequality, and this is also division between the laborer. So we require a more inclusive policy approach, and the domestic law is not going to help it out. So we really need to go back to the ILO 202 conventions, where we talked about gender discrimination free world, where the women and male can actually work irrespective of that. So they're actually making one step ahead. And how we can translate this like a conventions 202 and 204 of the ILO to the domestic law, that is the like main concerns that actually we are going to look forward. So with this help, I would like to stop here. I would like to take some queries, questions, and I will send you the slides so you can enjoy. It's more than 60 slides, but 1.5 hours. That is also problem with the TIS lecture also. They gave me less time.
Actually, no, it's an online, and students have been on back-to-back classes, no? So we can't have the more time. That is
Sure.
the limitation from our side.
But next time, one thing we'll do, we invite you for the 2 class.
Sure.